Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Union or Bust. Juan Perez here, organizing Monster with Chris Lopez.
How's everyone doing? Chris Lopez, your union brother on TikTok, Instagram, all the platforms. Welcome to another special edition of the Union or Bust podcast. And I think this is our 52nd episode, so we're over the hump going to 100 episodes. I want to welcome a special guest. Her name is Sara Backus, and she is a barista at Starbucks. In Hillcrest. Now, a little background, Starbucks United, I guess they organized their first store.
Workers United.
Starbucks Workers United
there you go.
organized their first store in Buffalo, New York on
Yes.
Elmwood Avenue in 2021. And I guess what happened was after that, now you have over 600 organized, including the Hillcrest one that you just organized recently. And during this time, Starbucks spent about $250 million or more on union busting, on the union busting campaign. And I guess they have a lot of, I call it fuck you money. I guess they have a lot of fuck you money. And, well,
Am I allowed to say yes?
yeah. but the Starbucks Workers United have a lot of fuck around and find out solidarity, and I think that's what's going around the country.
Absolutely,
So
yes.
tell us, Sarah, tell us a little about yourself. Tell us about Starbucks Workers United. Right now you've got the attention of everyone all around the country.
I started at Starbucks in 2005, and I started in Tacoma, which is a city south of Seattle, about 50 miles. And I worked there for a year, and then I moved to Portland, and I found a store there. I need to reiterate, I was hired as a shift supervisor, so I did that for 18 years. I moved to Portland, and I had a few stores there, and then I moved to LA, and I had a few stores there, and now I've been in San Diego for about 12 years, and I've had a couple stores here, 2 to be exact. I have seen the company go from a company. I want to first say that I love my job. I wouldn't have been there this long if I didn't love it. I love my customers. I love the partners that I work with. I've always enjoyed doing service industry things, so it's a good niche for me. However, I've seen a company that went from being very pro partner and all that to now we all feel like they don't care at all. And that's really sad. I mean, like, because I used to be proud to work at Starbucks. I used to be like, this is a, I don't want to say a niche job, but a job where, it was leading the way in terms of the benefits it gave, all of that things, instead of being like the regular fast food company. It was an echelon above that. And so it was really great working there. And, they've been really good to me. But I'd say in the last 5-ish years, it's gotten to the point where, all of us, yet again, love our jobs and working with each other, and we love our customers, but we don't love the way they treat us. It's been really rough, and it's actually dejecting. I mean, I could cry, I probably won't, but, this is something that's very close to my heart. And those of us at my store in particular, we have 4 partners that have been with the company 20 years. So we have an aggregate of 80 years of experience alone there. My store has a lot of tenure in general. We have, I'd say, a lot of partners that have been with the company at least 5 years, verging on 10. And then most of the other ones have been, also one of the partners has been at my store for almost 20 years, almost whole tenure at Starbucks. So we have a lot of that creates this community that we know all the customers' names, they know us, we know their kids' names, we know their jobs, we know all of that. And they're been pretty supportive about us doing this. It's not like, oh, gee darn. It's like, well, we wish you the best and we hope it works because, they actually care about us as people. Does the corporation? I don't think so.
Yeah, I know. That's insane. You've been there for 20 years at Starbucks?
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is that they also don't recognize tenure. As you've said, money is not everything.
Yeah.
However, I make just a few dollars more an hour than partners who have just been hired. So with my 20 years experience there and my myriad years experience just in the service industry alone, I've been doing this almost twice as long as some of the people who have been, started working there. And also, it doesn't necessarily relate to that so much. There's many different grievances that we have. We don't get consistent hours. There is no guarantee of hours, even if you have tenure. I had a manager who brought in a couple people from another store, and he had favorites. And so I went from getting 38 hours a week to getting 25, 26, whereas they would get more hours. So it's inconsistent in the wages or the hours that you get. how you can even predict if you're going to pay your bills. And it's a very scary place to be. Problem also being is that if you want to have 40 hours, basically the algorithm, whatever you want to call it, you have to do 1.5 times the amount of hours that you want. So, for example, I want 40 hours a week. I have to be available 60 hours a week. So basically that creates not a very wide spectrum for you to get any other job.
Right.
But there's absolutely no guarantee that you're going to get 40 hours. I say I want 40, I get 29. So there's that as well. So the demand of having to give that many hours and also having no guarantee is just pretty egregious, in my opinion.
And I think that's what Starbucks has, I think, since the campaign started, Starbucks Workers United, until now, they've lost about $11 billion.
Wow.
The company. That's what I've been looking at on
Right.
on the online, but also that's the GDP of the Bahamas. So, and I was like looking at
How
this,
about
and
California?
I go. So I don't think it's about the money for Starbucks. And Juan always says it's about power. And
Well, I want to interject and say it's not about the money for us either. It is, but it's not. For me, it's a bigger picture. It's a bigger picture that if we don't start doing this, if we don't make a change, then nobody else will be able to. All of us contribute to society. We were essential workers during the pandemic, and yet now somebody the other day yelled at us, "Get a job." I'm like, okay, well, the next time you get a real job, next time you want to go to a restaurant, next time you want to go to a gas station, next time you want to go and get groceries, is there going to be somebody there if we all get real jobs? So I think that is the attitude towards service workers in general. Anybody who does a job that's considered less than. I do have a bachelor's degree as well. There are a lot of people that are highly educated at Starbucks, which is the irony because most people assume that we're not and that maybe we chose this job because we couldn't get another one, which isn't the case at all. So
Right. I mean, you've been there for 20 years, so like we take for granted people's seniority, experience, and you said people's names, people's families, people's kids, people's orders. That's priceless. That's like things that you can't really put on the scale on value.
Yeah.
Like a corporation doesn't understand how to put that on the scale, how it should value you.
In a small anecdote, this will maybe make me tear up a little bit. I have a customer, and somehow we create a rapport with each other, and he reminds me of my dad who passed away, but he brings me newspaper articles and we trade books and everything like that, which is exactly what me and my dad did. He brings us candy to the store. He's given us cards, and he recently had surgery and he wasn't well, not doing well. So I went to the hospital and brought him flowers and a card because everybody at the store signed it. We all were like, oh man, our guy. So that's the level of involvement that we have with our customers. And I love him. That's why I did it. I didn't do it out of obligation. Probably the company, I think my manager might know his name, but knows nothing else about him, whereas we're the ones in the trenches that know people's names, know their drinks, know everything.
You're building community, and that's what that is. I mean, I forgot what we call it in sociology, like a second home or a second place to be.
The second place is what
second
it's
place,
called.
right? So you have your home, it's the first place.
Right,
That's where you have your kids and your
Yeah.
family. But you also go to the gym, you also go to the Starbucks or the
Yes.
coffee shop where you meet other people, and those are your family as well.
Absolutely. Well, the thing we have a lot of is that, people who started working remotely during the pandemic, a lot of them didn't go back to work. They're working from home. So we may be the only human interaction they have all
Right.
day long. So they come in the morning, we want to get their day started right. And this is something we all vitally care about. But the company expects us to keep giving and giving and giving and not reciprocating and giving us something. So it's this catch-22 of us wanting to do our jobs, liking to do our jobs, but not being able to afford a living. So where do you go with that?
The campaign that you have going on, the Starbucks Workers United, the boycott. I feel, even though my union's not on strike or anything, I feel like I'm involved in your strike.
Yeah.
I've never seen a boycott this big in my entire life, and I'm on social media a lot, and I'm just like, holy cow, this is everywhere. So I think this is a very successful boycott, and
Yes.
Starbucks is they have to look at the reality and read the room, is what I think.
Well, I think the irony is that when we first started creating the union at our store, it seemed like they thought we were like our gang, like, hey, let's start a union, because it was just, we were having meetings, we were meeting together, we had strategies and all this stuff, and they just acted like we didn't know what the heck we were doing. That was when they started union busting and saying, well, this may not happen for you, this may not happen for you, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, my husband was a union rep, so I was like, that's not true. None of this, what you're telling us is not true. So, we were aware from the get-go. So we were all very active about using our wine garden rights and stuff like that, being careful about not getting into situations where we're not being able to defend ourselves. So, but other stores don't have that. People are getting fired for really small infractions. People are on edge because they may get fired for being 5 minutes late. What kind of life is that? You come to job, you're driving on, especially in a larger city, and, I come from La Mesa to Hillcrest, which is about 10 miles on the freeway. And a larger metropolitan city can have really bad traffic. So do we look at mitigating factors? Not really. So basically, we're just, you're 5 minutes late, well, you're going to get written up. They have a first verbal warning, second warning, first write-up, second write-up, and third one is a final. After that, you're done. So that really doesn't say, and that doesn't matter if you've been there for 20 years, if you've been there for 6 months, it does not matter.
Oh, wow. So it doesn't come off after a year?
I think it comes off after a year,
Okay.
6 months or a year.
Okay.
But point being is that, well, it's in your file forever, I think. But point being is that you can have been a miraculously good employee and not, I have like 2 write-ups for things that weren't really even something I was responsible for. And then all of a sudden, maybe you hit some hard times or something. And then, oh, well, you're expendable, so goodbye.
You know, I just got off the phone with a union member, and I explained to them, because a lot of people have never been a part of a union. So when they start up, I go, yeah, so, after 6 months of employment, you'll get double time on Thanksgiving and Christmas. After a year, you'll get double time on all the holidays in the contract. You'll get a week vacation, week sick leave. You never lose anything. If you don't use it, it will be paid out to you. And if I go over the whole contract, we'll be on the phone for 3 hours, and I'm not going to do that to you. And so he's like, wow, because people, but your contract is property.
Right.
That's what it is. It cannot be taken away from you. So if someone says in the contract, you're going to get a raise on this day, you're going to get a raise on this day. There's mechanisms in the contracts where full time is defined. 5 8-hour days. That's a full timer in a lot of our contracts. Saying it's 32 hours, that's not it. A full timer is defined by 5 8-hour days.
Well, Starbucks is already being disingenuous about that, because I was hired as a full-time employee. And, you don't look at when you go into the computer and you change maybe your availability and stuff like that, then you look at those things and I'm like, wait, I am considered a full-time employee, which is over 32 hours, not even 40 hours. And yet there's no obligation for them to adhere to that. So that in and of itself is very confusing. Just like.
It is crazy.
Yeah, it's really
so
crazy.
So you're considered a full-time employee, but you're not a full-time employee? Or
Exactly. On paper, apparently, I'm a full-time employee. That's what it says in terms of my work status and all those things where I can look. I think it's where I can look and see my pay, all those things. Yeah, and because I looked at that and I literally was like, that is my job description, because I'm not sure if I was aware that, of course, when I was first hired, I was getting a lot of hours because Starbucks was giving a lot of hours then. But it's become more and more, they're tightening the labor up, and less people are working on the floor. They're creating a different metric for, okay, instead of we can have 4 people start, or 2 people start here, 2 people start here, 2 people start here, and you all get 8-hour shifts. Now it's like, no, you start here, you get 4-hour shifts, because they don't want to have excessive labor after our peak hours. So I had a great manager who was giving me 35 hours a week, maybe even a little more, but I was working 6 days because they were not able to give me 4 8-hour shifts, or even 5 8-hour shifts, or 5 7-hour shifts, or even, that's the problem. So.
And so you're at the Hillcrest store, at the Starbucks Hillcrest store, and you helped organize the Hillcrest store. How was that experience? Like, did you ever have experience organizing before?
No, actually. My
Wow.
coworker, who's a really good friend of mine, he just kind of latched onto it, and he's very persuasive. And I think I think that actually what did help in our store is the level of tenure, because all of us have just seen how much the company has changed, and that we used to be very valued. I have an anecdote. Probably cut this out. I have an anecdote. I started in April of 2005, and my mother died unexpectedly in an accident.
Wow.
And so I said, I need to take a month off. I need to, move in with my dad and help him with that. And my DM, district manager, was amazing. I should have been fired and rehired because I didn't have the tenure, but she was like, take a month off.
Wow.
So now, coming full circle, I had a partner who's been at my store for about 20 years. He moved out of state. he was planning on staying out of state, but one of his family members had an emergency, so he had to come home. Like, had to come home. They didn't want to let him come back to our store because it had only been 5 months. This was a big deal. And I was like, wow, can you just do the right thing, please?
Right.
Can you do the right thing? But they don't.
That's
over
why
and over again.
Yeah, that's why it needs to be in writing.
Exactly.
It really does.
Yeah.
If you don't have a contract, they can just do whatever they want. They can change policies on a whim. It's funny, I call union members the new ones a lot of times. And there was a person who I spoke to yesterday, and I go, hey, so, my name's Chris. I'm your union rep. And she's all, oh, they haven't put me on the schedule in 2 weeks. And
Oh,
I'm like,
no.
they haven't put you on the schedule for 2 weeks. I go, let me check into that. And then, of course, I call HR, and they say she was terminated. And I was like, did anyone tell you you were terminated? Well, to make a long story short, they said they terminated her during her probation period. But the contract that she's in states probation is 45 days.
Right.
Unless you give the union and the employee notice. It can be extended to 60 days. But it can't go past 60 days.
Yeah.
So, she, in a long story short, she didn't like that store. And I said, you know what? I got her transferred to the store she wanted.
Oh, that's good.
And also I got her full back pay for the time she was out. And so that, and because they know a union representative who knows the contract and can get that little, get those things, because it's just ridiculous when you don't have one. They could say probation's 30 days or probation's 45 days, 60 days.
Well, that's another thing that they do is that if you have a written anything, if you want to transfer to, let's say the store isn't working out for you, or you maybe have a little bit of a conflict with your manager, which hopefully isn't happening. So you want to transfer stores. Well, you can't if you're under a 6 month, if you have a write up at all, you can't transfer. So how does that facilitate anybody getting any better? I do want to move back to, because I always go off on tangents, but go back to us organizing. And I want to say, I want to say that the Workers United has been great in helping us. They have been so hands-on, very organized. We created, lists of people, like, who do we think is on the cusp? Who do we think we know is totally in? We had a core group of people, and we were kind of assessing that. We have a small store, so it's pretty easy. We're all pretty tight. We have 17-ish employees, 16. Some of the larger stores have 30, 35, so especially drive-thrus. So, it wasn't too difficult for us, and we're all pretty like-minded. But yeah, it was a great experience, and I've honestly loved it. I mean, it is great to feel, as you said, it's not about the money. It's not about, of course it is. I mean, as I said, we all need to live. This is an expensive city. All of my coworkers have roommates, or, have 2 jobs, maybe 3 jobs. So they don't do any sort of commensurate pay according to where you live. So you can, minimum wage does make a difference. However, you can live in San Diego, which is the 3rd most expensive city in the country to live in, and it doesn't really have any sort of difference between other cities who have a comparable minimum wage. So how does that fare? It's just not, So at any rate, reeling back into organizing, they have been there the whole time. They've been really supportive. Veronica and Naomi are there, like, at the drop of the hat. You text them, they're going to get right back to you. Okay. Very personable. They have been down here. I'm not sure where Veronica lives, somewhere in North County. I think she lives maybe closer to in LA County. But she's come down here, and she's, stayed for the weekend. She helped us be picketing. She's gone and followed, I don't know if I can say this, but done other things that, have supported us in our cause. This is what's great too, and this is what I think is the bigger picture, is that the unions are coming together.
Right.
Because we've had the Democratic Socialist Association, or
DSA.
DSA, yeah. They've come and brought us food twice. We've had other people who are with unions who've come, and a guy picketed with us. We've had a lot of support with people saying, yeah, we're with you. So I think maybe creating this more a spread of, it's not just our microcosm, it's a macrocosm, because it's not us, it's everyone.
Right.
And we are one of the biggest companies, if not the biggest company, that has had this tide. So if we can do it, other people are going to be encouraged to do it.
Right. And then that's what we talk about on the show. It's solidarity. That's our sign up there. And then we have a lot of different union signs up there. And it's about that, everybody coming together for a fight, because these corporations, they have solidarity with each other. They have class solidarity with each other. Like, why do you think they are the ones funding everything. They are at each other's weddings and parties, and they're lobbying.
Oh,
But then they divide us by everything, right? Race, gender, class, whatever.
exactly.
But it's us now coming together as workers. That's the one thing that Chris Small says that unites us all is being a worker.
Absolutely, and I think you're correct, because why are we pitting ourselves against each other when we should be a group united to counter this, because it's just getting worse and worse. And for an example, our CEO, Brian Nichols, been with the company, I would say like maybe 13 months. First 4 months of his tenure, he made $96 million.
Whoa.
Right now, I'm probably not even up to the correct statistic, but we know he's making at least $50,000 an hour, whereas the lowest paid Starbucks worker is probably making 15 something an hour. Another statistics that I have, which may not be absolutely correct, you could check with the Workers United, is that he makes 6,666 times, interesting number, more than the lowest paid employee. So how is that equitable in any place? Any places,
Yeah,
it's not.
when we do like organizing trainings, I always show this one slide of CEO to worker pay ratio. It used to be 33 to 1 back in the 50s and 60s. So CEO only made around 33 times the average worker, their average worker in their company. Now it's up to like 350 times that. So the pay disparity has only gone so much worse over time. And these CEOs are just leaving everybody behind. But that's what they're going to do. They continue to buy everything, monopolize everything. Look at Amazon. Look at Walmart. Their goal is to monopolize and buy everything up. I was just talking about Encore earlier. Their goal is to buy up their competition because now they're going to say, where else are you going to go? And so that's why us as a working class, we have to develop this conscious of, no, we're all in this together. If you all are on strike at Starbucks, then guess what? We're all boycotting Starbucks. That's how it should be. That sends the message to the company. Workers going on strike, that's just one part of it. But when you bring the community together to go on strike or boycott it, that's when it impacts.
They do encourage us not to call it a boycott. I don't know why, but it's semantics. It's just that we're supposed to, basically I think it's because it's a strong term, whereas they want us to say like we're discouraging people to shop at Starbucks. So I don't know.
That's okay. We'll call it a boycott.
Yeah, I don't care what you say. It's that I'm not supposed to say that. I think that's the biggest thing. Another thing that our new CEO done. He's. I don't know if I want you guys to say all of this because I didn't know I was gonna. I didn't know this was really this global. He is from Long Beach, and when he got hired, he didn't want to relocate his family because, who wants to do that for a job? Everyone who's a worker has to do that. So instead, they were giving him a private, and he wanted to do every week. He would come back and forth, so they got him a private jet so he could fly up there every week back and forth. I am from Seattle. I know where the airport is. It is a 10-minute drive maximum from the Starbucks corporate headquarters. All they'd have to do is get him on the, Superfly list and all that. But there's, again, an example of the money, their priorities. They spent $80 million. There was a manager meeting in Las Vegas, I think it was last year, which they spent $80 million on, if you can imagine. I'm not sure where that cost went, although they did have Bruno Mars and Janelle Monáe perform. So there's where some of, that's where some of that money went. I know how much Bruno Mars costs for just a regular concert. So that's another example of them. This could have been an easy fix to just say, we're going to give you guys a couple more dollars an hour. Granted, we want to be able to at least keep up with the rate of inflation, which is probably going to be more than a couple dollars an hour the way we're going. But they can do the right thing, and they just choose not to. And you're exactly right. That's what's becoming. This whole country is becoming that. And that's why, as you both say, workers have to become a group together. And I think people need to. A lot of people don't really understand what a union does. They really don't. And basically, my husband just summed it up. He was like, "Well, basically, it's great for workers and bad for management." I'm not sure if that's how you want to terminology it, but I mean, like, that's it. I think people have weird misconceptions about it or how it works exactly.
Well, we've been propagandized for a long time in the U.S. and in the world about unions. Like, we used to be at a 33% density in the U.S. 1 out of 3 American workers was in a union. That's when we had the white picket fence, the American dream.
Right.
One job was enough.
Mm-hmm.
You can send your kids to college on one salary.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's little by little, it was a war on unions by the corporation. They started buying off politicians, outsourcing, automation, all of that had its play. Okay. So with that came the propaganda, of course. They don't teach this stuff in high schools or in schools. Like, hey, by the way, when you become a worker, understand that. Maybe look for a union job, or these are your rights.
Exactly.
And
the
this is how you
irony
organize.
is that they encourage people to go to actual college,
Yeah.
but they don't say, oh, if you do a trade job, which is absolutely essential, you will probably be in a union, which will protect you. So that's the thing, is that, yeah, they should be encouraging that rather than kind of stuffing it under the rug.
But my girlfriend's a teacher, and she's very involved in their teacher union. And no, she tells me that Jeff Bezos, Amazon, they spend billions of dollars on these school boards. And these school boards control the curriculum. So,
And, you know, that's why we started this podcast.
Yeah.
Our podcast is dedicated to kitchen table economics. We always say the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. You know, people, I think it's over 60% of the U.S. population's living paycheck to paycheck. People can't pay their rent. So people are forming unions. But you're not going to hear this on legacy media or MSNBC. They're not going to tell you about these things that are going on. It's not exciting.
Yeah, it's not a headline grabber.
Yeah, it is not a headline grabber. But the Union or Bust podcast, we're dedicated to lifting up the labor movement. You know, and it's also good for the economy. So if the people are making more money, then they're spending more money in their communities.
I think that's part of the misconception, is because we've been so brainwashed to believe what they say, rather than, oh, if you had a living wage, you would be putting more money into the economy. So why don't we do that? You know, it's just because rich get richer and they're going to have 20 homes. I mean, how much money do you really need? How much do you need? I mean, I feel like I saw a statistic that said that Elon Musk makes more in a day than all of the teachers combined in the country make in a year.
I think I just saw that.
Something like that. And I was like, excuse me? I mean, like, that's gross. It's absolutely gross.
Power.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's keeping us controlled and keeping us everybody living paycheck to paycheck. That means that you don't have the liberty to go fight for your rights or fight for your freedoms.
It's fear. They make us live in fear.
Yeah,
that's what they do. And when you're living in fear and trying to survive, it's really hard to organize and do this. So yes, if we pave the way for everyone else, then hopefully this is, as I said, a bigger global idea than just unionizing Starbucks. So that's why I'm
look
here.
at countries like Italy. We talked about it on the last podcast. Italy has gone on general strike. Like, the whole country shuts off.
Wow,
They're
okay.
about to go on the general strike this next week for Black Friday.
Right.
They're going to shut the country down. And these countries have union densities that are a lot higher than us.
Right,
though.
right.
We're at 9-10% density.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah.
Because you said it was 33%
It used to be
before?
33
Wow,
in the 50s
okay.
and 60s. Now
Okay.
we're at about 10%.
Right.
These countries are at 50, 60, 70, 80% union density. That's when, of course, like, if you have union density, that means the membership is informed. They're informed politically and how they buy things or buying power. So they know what's going on politically. So anything that happens politically, if they don't agree with it, they'll burn the country down. In France, I just talked about it in the last podcast. A few years ago, they were trying to raise the retirement age by 2 years in France. Macron. They burned the fucking country down, and then he's like, nope, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
They rose the retirement age here in the U.S. the same year. Nothing happened.
Confusion is control, because I remember during that time, the TikTok ban, they're talking about the TikTok ban. Everyone's talking about that. And at the same time, during the TikTok ban, they're raising. So and you know, Juan talked about buying things up. Well, the corporations have been buying up media. So the media they put out, and
It's becoming a monolith.
It's
Yeah, of
becoming a
course.
model. So
Yes.
if the media can put out the message of TikTok and just TikTok, and then all of a sudden they're like, okay, this is the time. Let's raise the retirement age. They're distracted.
I don't think, and we're probably close in age, I'm like, I don't think I'll ever be able to retire. I really am just like, well, I'm going to be working at Starbucks until I'm 90 years old. Hopefully the tips are good. People will come in and be like, oh my God, that poor woman. But yeah, I mean, it gets discouraging. And so I think about the younger generations too. And I do think the interesting about Generation Z is I've been thinking that they're lackadaisical, I guess I want to say, but I think it's more like, no, fuck you. I'm not gonna kowtow to you. I'm not gonna work for what you're paying me. Problem being is that the older generations, I'm an Xer, and then we have the millennials. We do have a strong work ethic. We still go in because we're conditioned to go in and give 100%. So in a weird way, I respect Generation Z because I feel like they're our main hope for all of this. Like, guys, this is the way it's been, and this is the way it's going to be unless we do something about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, I'm a millennial. Our generations where you go to college and you graduate, you're going to get a job, or you're probably going to get a good job, and you can pay off your student loans or whatever.
Yeah.
That economy doesn't exist anymore. All these kids graduating from high school or college, there is no economy for them. There is no jobs for them.
Yeah.
So you even said some people at your store have degrees, and so they have to get any job that's out there. So that's why we have to make these jobs better for everybody. So of course I don't blame Gen Z when they're like, fuck this economy.
Exactly.
Whatever's going on in the media, I don't believe them either. I don't believe them. So they have the middle finger to authority in general.
Exactly.
Whether it's the bosses.
Exactly.
Or
like I said, and I'm like,
politicians,
more
or-
power to you, kids. More power to
me,
you,
like, it's always a young generation that leads all the revolutions or all the movements in the U.S. or across the world.
Yeah.
That's like we call them the honey badger generation.
Yeah.
Well, by the way, that's our mascot.
Yeah.
So explain to me, because I want to know what that means.
Yeah, as in like we're the honey badgers of labor. Me and Chris here in San Diego, we always push the envelope no matter what.
Got it.
We're always trying to push our leadership to do the right thing and talk about things that maybe they're not comfortable with, because there are unions and in the labor movement, we're very exclusive. That is a true thing. Like we have bylaws, we have rules, we have membership meetings. Only if you're a member you can attend. Blah blah blah. Okay, I get that. But at the same time now, we're no longer have that privilege to be that exclusive anymore. We have to reach out to the community. We have to partner up with nonprofits that are not union because most of Americans are non-union. So why not partner up with the non-union at this point?
Yeah.
Garner their support and unionize.
Well, I really like what you're doing because, like I said, the misconceptions about unions are huge because they're like, oh my God, your dues are going to be so much. It probably will offset everything that you make. It's like, no, if you really do the math, it is negligible compared to us being able to get a living wage. So there's that. I mean, I think that, maybe just disseminating the information, like you said, when 33% of the population is in a union, it's not so confusing. But I've had friends and relatives be like, so tell me exactly what you want and how does this work? And I'm like, wow, okay. I mean, like, and that's okay, but it's just not out there. The working class is not represented. So, if you're in that middle class, middle upper class, then you may not be aware of what it is. I think the sad thing too is that, the movement forward is that, Starbucks, this is a great example. Starbucks, we ask for more pay. Oh, I have a lot of good examples. We ask for more pay, and then they're like, well, the expectation is that you're supposed to promote within a few years to a shift supervisor, and then you're going to promote to assistant manager, and then you're going to promote to manager and this. And I'm like, for one thing, that's a Ponzi scheme because there are not enough positions to do that for people.
Yeah,
You know what I
there you
mean?
go.
It's like, sure, okay, we only have, how many managers in district? 10. How many DMs do we have? We have probably, in our region, I would never actually know. Point being, there aren't enough positions to fill.
Right.
Another thing they do is they were like, oh, if you don't have enough hours, you can work at other stores. We have this whole app for you guys. I'm like, okay, that is really, really limiting for people who don't have a car, are not comfortable, maybe have social anxiety. Just there could be myriad reasons why they don't. Maybe they need an accommodation at their store that they get that they can't have at another store. So to just say disingenuously, oh, you can just go work at another store. That's how you get your hours. That's not feasible for people. Another thing I wanted to circle back to, put a pin in, circle back to is that some of the workers, a big concern for people, I have been very lucky to actually get enough hours to not really worry about getting my health insurance. Sorry, I didn't mean to blah. I have got enough hours to have my health insurance, although we all had to look and see if going on strike would impact us and if we would be able to have enough to make it through however long the strike lasts. Because who knows? Because I was actually like sweating a little bit, but we have workers who, for whatever reason, they're in school, they're other jobs, and they need 20 hours a week, and it's been the impression that they're going to get 20 hours a week. Yet again, you're available for how many? And they're getting 19 or 18. So they're really putting the place where you're not going to get your benefits. ASU is another thing, which this is a great benefit. They will pay for your college. However, they're putting you in a place where they're not going to pay for it because you can't make your hours, So that's another thing. They also disingenuously say, well, if you add up all our benefits, then we have, it's $30 an hour. It's not, because for one thing, I'm not going to get maternity maternity leave. I'm not going to adopt a child. I work in a community that's it's gay friendly. So a lot of the people there are not interested in those things. And that's great. A lot are. More so than I am. However, it's not just, and also like the ASU, well, guess what? If you have a degree, if I wanted to go get another degree, perhaps in some other field that maybe was more business related, because mine is liberal arts, of course, of course, they won't pay for it. So yet again, you're kind of punished if you already have an education, which is weird to me. So yeah, all those benefits that we just can't take advantage of. So that really irks me, because it's not true. So it looks really good on paper, but it's not true. So.
Right. And going back to the strike, so you all went on strike this week?
Last Thursday.
Last Thursday, so you, almost a week?
No, it's last Thursday, so it's been 9 days?
9 days.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how has the community, people, your customers, how have they...
they've been pretty supportive,
reacted?
honestly. I think a lot of them still don't know that Starbucks has, because, I get notifications on my phone because I'm always looking at Starbucks articles. However, they're not going to get that. So they don't know that because they're like, is the whole company unionized? And they're really like, that's our goal. And they don't, or they're just not aware because they really always ask with intention and purpose, like, what are you asking for? And to us, it's obvious, but to them, it's not. We also want a safer work environment. We have... Really good example is my store, and this is, I know I'm going on a tangent again, but I'd like to get this in because it's important. Our store, it was, I think, 2-ish years ago, the timeline's a little confusing to me, we had an electrical fire in our electrical panel, which controlled the whole complex. So the whole complex had no electricity. For one thing, the fire started at night, and my manager called me, and I was the opening shift supervisor. He's like, well, there was a fire. You should just go in and check out and see what happened. I'm like, okay, sure, maybe you could do that. But I went in, and it didn't, there was no damage to us in terms of the store. However, there was a carbon monoxide thing that I think was blinking, and I was like, I shouldn't even be in here. Long story short, they got generators to keep, it took like 9 months for them to actually repair the panel. So this is ridiculous in and of itself. Nothing to do with Starbucks. But we had generators outside our stores, and we literally had to go, if they malfunctioned, like, we had to go, I would want to make it akin to flipping a switch when your fuse box goes out. And even if it was raining, we're putting ourselves in danger.
Yeah,
Anybody having to touch electricity in any way, shape, or form. So those are the weird expectations they have. Another thing is that, like, when technology goes out, which happens all the time, they'll be like, oh, well, okay, call the, contact center. Then they'll be like, okay, we'll take this panel off and do this and this. I'm like, I am not an IT tech, and I don't want to be, They literally got us, like, things so that we could do our own windows instead of paying somebody $50 every 3 weeks, just these little things. So... Yeah, but going back to the union, I do think that people are interested. I think that we need to get the word out there. We are right next to a farmer's market. So on Sunday, I was like, oh, you know what? We should go leaflet there. So that's another way just to get the word out. Yeah, and people have been like, oh, a couple people have been like, well, where's the Starbucks that's open? I'm like, okay. One lady got so mad. My coworker the other day, she was an older woman, just let's say that. And she came up, and my coworker was so nice to her. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, but we're on strike. She's like, that's not good. Oh my gosh. And he's like, well, I'm sorry about that. Have a good day. She's like, I will not withstand this. And I was like, we were like, what are you withstanding? We were totally nice to her. So you get that every once in a while, or, or like, dang it. And we'll just be like, yeah, it's really a bummer that they don't pay us wages. So we have to go on strike, but a fair wage. So yeah, but for most part, I think maybe people are daunted or afraid that their customers are going to feel alienated. But we also really reiterate to our customers, like, we want to be inside. We want to be serving you. We want to be doing our job. We don't like alienating you. We don't like not working, but we have got to the point where we have to do this. And they were like, man, I'm rooting for you, So I think if more people were aware of that the sentiment, I think, is gathering momentum in terms of labor, that they won't be as afraid, will not buy into union busting, will more be like, okay, this is something that maybe is within the realm of my possibility. So, like I said, it's a global thing, as you guys are doing. And I had no idea when I came in here what you guys did. Literally not. She's like, you're bringing it in the megaphones, and then you're gonna do. And I didn't really know what the background of everything you do is. So it's great, and I'm learning a lot. And I think that's what's fascinating is I enjoy all of the things that I've learned, and the more I learn, the more I can disseminate get rid of the misinformation and give the real information out to people. So it starts small and it gets bigger, and it's going to get bigger. So
I remember when I was on strike, 2003, 2004, we were on strike. I worked for Vaughn's for like 4.5 months or something like that. And it was very, very interesting because you saw like customers who would cross the picket line. And, you know, I had some of the, because I was a picket captain, and some of the people got upset. I go, what you're not seeing is all the people who aren't here. And it's one of the most important things to look at. Like, if you think about all the customers, remember, you're not seeing them. You maybe see that one random person that, and it's a beautiful thing to kind of look at it that way.
Well, we are lucky also that our store has not opened up again.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about Starbucks. It's weird because it's a kind of a haphazard corporation in a lot of ways. So yeah, you'd think they would have been on top of it and been like, oh, okay, we're going to borrow partners from, that's the thing, you borrow partners from other stores. I worked at like 30 stores because, okay, we need a key holder here. You go over there, you manage the safe and direct traffic, and then, you know. So yeah, I'm not sure why they have not been organized enough to do that. So we're organizing and able to do what we do, but they're not able to keep the stores. Granted, I don't want this store to open until this is done. However, so I just want to make sure that some people understand that we're striking, and we're not striking with workers inside. We're not saying anybody's scab, anything like that. There's nobody coming into our store. So it eliminates the awkwardness a little bit. However, there's still people that get mad, and we're like, well, okay. And we live on a street. Granted, I mean, like, if you live in, it's not okay in any place, way, shape, or form, but we live, I mean, our store is on a street. For one thing, the Gay Pride Parade goes right by. So this is the idea of community. But also, we live on the street. There's so many independent coffee shops. So, you know, why not go try something else? You know, I'm not saying don't come back to Starbucks. I'm just saying right now, please don't patronize Starbucks. So that's more of our message, is what we're trying to get across. So, because we want them to come back.
And you all are on strike, obviously, because they have not negotiated a contract.
No, about 90% of it, like I said, don't want to be misquoted, but I believe about 90% of it has been negotiated. But they are stuck on, it's all about the money. It's all about those things, yes. So there's certain things that they, you know, but they've also done things that are completely outside of what they should be doing. Like I said, I'm not super versed in the union, but like our store's unionized, but then they introduced this new dress code because, God forbid, we actually have individuality. I'm going to get fired after this. I'm like, big old target on my back. Okay, cut that out.
Concerted union activity.
Yeah,
go ahead.
But I mean, but the thing is that they have, another good one. They have instituted a dress code. And we had a dress code before, but it was pretty, you know, just wear solid colors and, you know, don't wear like white pants, stuff like that. So it was pretty liberal. But now they basically have been like, you have to wear a black shirt. You can only wear black khaki or jeans. You can only have one facial tattoo. You can only have one facial piercing. Yeah, so it's become this really like, I think it's an anti-woke movement in a way. Like, okay, we're going to make everybody look the same, sort of. You can still have bright hair for now. But I've done an informal poll of, let's say, my friends and neighbors, relatives, and they're like, we don't care. I've never had a customer complain to me ever about what a barista was wearing. Never had a problem with like, oh, that's inappropriate or I don't like it. Not at all. Another thing is the cup writing, which they've started, and I know that's been fairly. Do you guys know about the cup writing?
Like writing the names?
Yes. Well, okay. The thing is that, you know, Starbucks has moved with technology. Another thing is that they're trying to use more and more AI, which actually is making our jobs a lot more difficult in some ways. And I could extrapolate on that, but it's too much to say. Thing is that we used to have to write on the cups and write the drinks on the cups because we didn't have automation. We didn't have a sticker machine. So we've had sticker machines in the drive-thrus forever. We've had sticker machines in most of the cafes, I'd say, in the last 8 or 9 years. But, you know, we were writing on the cups out of necessity. We weren't writing on the cups to make people feel good, you know. And I don't mind writing. You know, I'm glad to write on a cup when it's not busy. But when we have literally 60 transactions in a half an hour. That's just, it can be that. And some stores are way greater than that. Our store averages maybe 50 or 60, might have 4 people on the floor, 5 if we're lucky.
And those are peak hours, like in the morning?
Yes, but think about writing on every cup. That's just transactions. That's not how many orders come through. We get orders that are 19, 20 drinks. Great, love the people who come in with that. Wow. But, you know, it's an expectation. And they keep saying, well, you always used to write on cups. We wrote on cups because that was part of how we did our job. Now they're just doing it it's kind of performative, in my opinion, you know, especially when people know you have to do it and they want to be punitive about it and say, if you don't do this, you might get in trouble. I mean, might. So that creates another climate of fear. I think that's where we're going, is this climate of fear with Starbucks. And so definitely that creates a fear of unionizing. If those little things are what they're going to pick on, then how about this, you know?
Yeah. And the wave of organizing, obviously, you guys started in 2021. The first store was organized.
Oh yeah, which they've been
2021.
stalling forever. I mean,
Yeah.
come on now.
But it created a snowball effect to where
Mm-hmm.
now, like, everybody's organizing. There's over, what, 60,000 employees that are unionized at this point?
Oh, I would
Something
say
like
more
that?
than that, probably.
More than
Because
that?
it's 600 stores, and I would say generally most stores have at least 20 employees. Ours is a lower end, but so that would be, what, 120,000 partners?
So these contracts, are they
Yet
going
again,
to
don't
be
quote me, but
are these going to be individual contracts with just the stores, like local contracts, or is it a national contract?
it, that's a really good. I think it's just going to be our stores when
Okay.
they finalize it. I
Okay.
don't want to say think. I'm pretty 99% sure.
That probably
but
makes
that's
sense.
but that's what the fear is. That's why they won't do it, because then they'll be like, well, crud, if we do this, every other
Yeah.
store is going to see, and they're going to want to unionize too. So
Yeah.
it's not even going to impact all the other stores, which would be great.
Mm-hmm.
So the fiscal impact is not going to be for them. It's just going to be for these stores, and
Mm-hmm.
they still won't do it.
I think the billionaires have been, and you can look at political campaigns or whatever, and they're spending billions and losing, or millions and losing on different things. And the thing about the labor movement, it's people power, it's solidarity, and it's more valuable right now than it could be all the money in the world.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, if like, Juan always talks about Italy, but at the end of the day, you all walk outside, that's a different conversation that the company needs to have with you.
That's something I heard. It's like, there's a difference between, if you're trying to negotiate, difference between compromise and collaboration. So compromise, it's like, as they're doing, well, we can only guarantee a 1% raise or 0.5% raise. Granted, if the regular employees get more than that, we will get that. But I mean, like, what does that even mean? That inflation is outstripping that by like 3% every year, something like that. So yeah, I don't. You can just
Is
do
that
the
what they're
right
offering?
thing. I think, yet again, don't quote me, but I believe that was one of the things. Yeah, I mean, like, it's to the point of being a farce.
Yeah.
They're just doing a lot of things like saying that we want a 65% raise, which is not remotely accurate. So they're making it sound like our demands are unreasonable, and they're really not. We just want to pay our living, want a living wage. We want to pay our bills. Maybe actually be able to do something nice once in a while. Honestly, I am very fortunate in a lot of ways. Very fortunate. However, Starbucks doesn't pay me enough to be like comfortable going out and eating. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, whoo, I literally do the math in my head. I'm like, oh gosh, after taxes and all my deductions, that's probably going to be about, half of a work shift at least. When you're getting paid so little, you can't do that,
It's not sustainable. Like
No.
like you were saying earlier, when you just started with Starbucks, they would work with you, and it was more of a living wage. And now they have all of Americans on the way that corporations are running their businesses at this point is just treating everybody like just another number. You're just a robot. We're gonna replace you with the next person, anyways.
What happens when they run out of people, though?
Like
Especially with the
Amazon.
population dwindling, because people aren't having kids because it's so crummy. They don't want to have kids because,
And we had Chris Smalls on the podcast. He's a guy that helped organize Amazon in New York.
Wow.
The only unionized Amazon warehouse in the country. And he talks about how Amazon is going to run through the working class because they hire and fire so much that eventually almost everybody would have had
Yet again,
worked at
becoming
Amazon.
a monolith, a monopoly, then really where do you go with that, I mean, and having a bad reputation too. It's weird because what's going on with Seattle companies, I want to say.
Well, I think, and then
But
Chris,
Costco does the right thing.
Costco, not all of them are unionized, but yeah.
Yeah.
it's interesting. Chris Smalls said, since Amazon has been around, they've hired and fired the entire U.S. population.
No.
That's how.
Holy cow.
So right now, and that's important to understand. That is huge. That's what I remember. I think it's 300 million people in the United States right now.
We have like 360 million people.
360? Holy cow! So it's quite a few people.
Right?
that's how these
absolutely but that's the thing, is the statistics are so mind-boggling
Yeah.
that you can't even wrap your head around. Apparently Elon Musk is going to be a trillionaire by 2027.
Yeah.
I literally was like, what? And yet they can't just pay us a living. Just do the freaking right thing, man.
Yeah, like I remember when I was a kid and we talk about being a millionaire, I didn't even know what that was. Like my dad is
Right.
like, don't even worry about that. You're never gonna become a millionaire. That's what he was saying.
Wow, thanks, Dad.
Yeah,
So
no.
much faith in you. So much.
And we didn't have billionaires when I was a kid.
Right,
Now,
yeah.
and then when we had the first billionaire, I was like, oh shit, what the fuck does that mean?
Right,
And now we're about
what?
to have the first trillionaire.
Yeah.
But and like it would be fine and dandy if we had a first trillionaire. But everybody had health care, everybody had living wages, everybody was taken care of. But at the time
Exactly.
where more people are close to becoming homeless than any time in our history, like everybody's one paycheck away from becoming homeless. If you don't receive 2 paychecks, I believe, most people would end up losing their housing. So most people can't afford a $400 emergency. And like Chris said, 65% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. So in the time that we're living with this economy,
Right.
that's the same economy that's creating the first
I
trillionaire.
think that's what people don't understand about a concept of socialism even is that like we don't want to strip people. I mean, sure you earned it, great, but can't we just take care of everyone? I mean, that's another thing is one of the partners I am lucky because for particular reasons I, have some backup money that I, will not be destitute anytime soon. However, one of these partners, she said that she had to choose between buying her insulin and groceries. Like, what even is that? That if Starbucks hears those stories and they don't do anything about it, what is going on?
Right.
Yet again, you can do the right thing, you just choose not to.
And honestly, like it's not just the corporations, it's also our politics that allowed this, because our politics give subsidies to these corporations, by the way, to Amazon, to Starbucks, to Chevron, because they're job creators.
Right.
But then what jobs are they creating if everybody's living paycheck to paycheck anyways?
Well, they're all kowtowing to the administration now. So, I mean, that's a perfect example. It's just like, yeah, we want our subsidies and we want, to have this, but screw that, just so our shareholders, which I think a lot of people don't understand that either. It's like, oh, the thought being the stock market is doing well, but the people aren't, so it's always about the shareholders and all that stuff rather than the person who's here in the trenches. And I didn't know that that's a statistic that is insane, especially with people not having the value of themselves to go, we deserve more, because I've seen people say that about like Elon Musk. Well, he earned it and this and this and this. And it's like, that doesn't mean that you can't have a good life too,
And did he? Like, you know what I mean?
God,
Like,
no.
in order for someone to become a billionaire, I think there has to be exploitation involved. Like, you have to
wasn't it
take advantage
South
of...
African diamond mines, I think?
Yeah. So there you go.
Something along
We
those
figured
lines.
it out.
Oh, please. Oh, please.
But
Blood diamonds,
Amazon,
what are those?
Amazon, Starbucks, Walmart, you name it. Any of these corporations, their CEOs, the only way they become billionaires like that is because of the exploitation of the working class of individuals like yourself.
And also the brainwashing propaganda, because if the media has been so consolidated.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I've been reading. Oh.
Yeah, it's
Let's
interesting.
not talk about that.
Yeah. No, but there's a reason they do that. It's
Yeah.
narrative control. But at this point, I think
Right.
they're losing
Yeah.
the narrative fight.
Right.
Like, people saw through it already.
Right.
Like, unions
Like Jimmy
have...
Kimmel, like, okay, this happened, and it was, I mean, all of it is all about politics now, and that's the thing is that we have anything separate from politics? Apparently not. That's just the
No,
sad part.
Yeah, I wish it were true, but we can't. Like, because why do you think corporations are so invested in politics? Like, it's not because they like it or it's fun. It's because they write the laws.
Right.
And they write the laws to make it hard for workers to organize, to hold them accountable,
Right.
to automate, to outsource. They write these laws, so that means we have to be involved in politics too, to fight these laws.
Yes, and I think that's what's interesting is that but that's the thing is that it feels so defeating. It feels really difficult because yet again, you feel like you're fighting a monster. But if 65% of the population, that's just a statistic alone of people being paycheck to paycheck. Holy cow. That's a lot of freaking people. If we all came together and just said, this isn't right, and instead of getting rid of our differences, getting rid of, okay, well, you believe this, you do this, just saying we're all human beings, and fundamentally, all we want is to be able to have a living wage, to have health care, be paid enough, and not have these trillionaires walking around. And that's what's going to happen.
And
I mean,
if everyone had health care, it'd be a tax cut.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I mean,
That's a
we
great
were talking
point.
about middle class
That's a great
tax
point.
cuts. Give
Yeah.
everyone
Yeah.
health care to be a tax cut.
Right. Well, I mean, and the irony too is that all these companies that have kind of touted themselves as being liberal are now moving towards, oh, no. And I don't want to say I was naive, but I'm like, wow, okay, they're sitting at the table with this guy. You know, I mean, you can probably cut this. Our CEO actually met with RFK Jr. so that we could say that we were going to be Maha. So, because our Starbucks now has protein drinks, which basically is putting protein in a sweetened cold foam, which is made of heavy cream. So, you know, it's kind of farcical in and of itself. But then the fact that he was kowtowing to them, I was like, okay, wow, this is sort of, I mean, like kind of antithetical to what Starbucks even means or used to mean, if that makes any sense. So I feel like they're going to, yet again, I'm just extrapolating. I think they're going to alienate their core base and trying to appeal to a different base that may not ever want to shop at Starbucks or have the means to do it because we're paycheck to paycheck, then the strategy may be completely wrong. I felt really betrayed by him doing that. Honestly, I was like, are you kidding me right now?
Well, I think their philosophy or their ideology is not people. It's not caring about these type of people. No, it's about money. So, like,
Yeah.
if they can rub elbows with the White House for tax cuts or deals, they're gonna do that. Like, why wouldn't they do that? If anything, I would. I don't put it past any corporation to do that. Like,
I
why-
bet Juan would sell out too.
I'd sell out
Absolutely, you
instantly.
would. I
If
know.
RFK
I
Jr.
met
wants
you an
to
hour
put-
ago, and I'm like, this guy.
I talk about union or bust, and I have a tattoo about unions. And I'm like, I'll be the first one to sell out.
Right? Exactly.
But
Here,
no, I
let me
mean,
get these
they
tickets.
see dollars, they see green. They
Yeah.
don't see faces or
Yeah.
individuals. Otherwise, they would have already given you a deal.
And I think that's the irony too, is that we're not being greedy. This is not about us going, you need to pay us $70 an hour. It's not. Yet again, it's always the thought that you want to take from these people to have your own. It's like it doesn't have to work that way. We just want to be able to go to work, get the hours that we need, be able to have a consistent schedule, and be paid a living wage.
And
That's
contribute to the
not-
economy.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely. Yet again, people don't want to work. Well, they just want to work and have something to show for it, you know? So, yeah, stimulate the economy by that. Because, as I said, I'm not going out to eat as much, well, actually, hardly at all. And I still have more income than these people who are living paycheck to paycheck. So, yeah, it's not sustainable. It's going to collapse.
How
at
many
some point.
people work for? Do you know how many people work for Starbucks? And
Gosh, I do not
like in
know.
total? Well,
I
Juan's
want
gonna
to say
find out.
250,000.
250,000?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so, yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
You're
something
right.
like that.
That's
I
two-
did all the statistics, and I want to figure out all the math.
Well,
I was like, all right, let's check this
So
out.
you got 250,000 people that could stimulate the economy.
Right,
Right
exactly,
there.
yeah.
And because if you raise their wages $1, where's that money going? That money's going to go.
But where's it coming from?
Exact-
It's coming from
The
the
billionaires.
CEO's $96 million that he got
Exactly.
in 4 months. Oh, they also built him a new office, 4,000 square feet office in Long Beach.
Nice.
Like the top of the line, you know, marble counters,
Good
a
for him.
$10,000.
Yeah.
He deserved it.
That's what
10,000
Juan wants.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
what I want.
Yeah, I mean, you know, because he's worked for the company for just over a year now, and you know, didn't want to commute. So, God,
So
I'm
in
gonna get fired.
2022, they had 402,000 employees.
Oh, okay, way more.
Oh,
That might be
wow.
international though. It's probably international.
Oh, maybe it's internet.
Yeah.
Oh, it could be, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like I said, statistics you don't really want to quote me on, but I do know a decent amount of them because you know, starting at the bottom with the and just a curiosity that's come from being in the union and really seeing the disparity in what's going on. I think until it's put right in front of your face, you don't realize, and I think that's important for Starbucks to do. You know,
Well, I've been really impressed with Starbucks Workers United because, I mean, I remember when the Teamsters, the UPS, was
Oh, wow,
doing
okay.
their practice pickets and everything. And I mean, you feel really involved. I'm on, you know, I'm going to their picket lines, getting content, you know, the solidarity I see in social, everybody's sharing, you guys. That
Right.
you're right there.
and I do think that this is very helpful because I think it needs to be a groundswell, not just us picketing for ourselves, but all of us picketing for each other. So, you know, that's one thing is that our union supports, we're getting a stipend for doing our picketing, which is fantastic.
Good.
So we're not just, granted, but you know, that's amazing in and of itself. But if we go and we picket with the nurses, counts towards our stipend. So that's
Oh,
the thing.
wow.
Isn't that neat?
That's
I think
sick.
it's super cool.
Yeah,
That
right?
is
never heard of
really,
that.
really
Yeah,
cool.
there's a protest right by my house in La Mesa. And it's just at the Social Security building because all the older people are like, we want our Social Security, and they said I could go and protest there as long as I was,
nice.
handing out leaflets. So yeah, it is. It's a much bigger groundswell. So we come and unionize, or what would you call it? Work with you. I can't find the term right now, but we all come together. So once you're unionized, you support another industry entirely. In fact, I think Workers United started, if the first company was a laundry, believe it or not. So that's how they started out. So, that's an industry that is nowhere near a coffee shop. So, that's the thing. Everybody deserves to be in a union. Everybody deserves to be paid what they're worth. And we're all worth living comfortably and not worrying about being able to pay our bills, being able to have medicine or any sort of health care, being able to have housing, all of that. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when it was kind of not the glory days, but good grief. I get nostalgic, and I'm not that old. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
just like, wow, you see all the homeless people, and you see just, this descent into people being kind of desperate. Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised that all these really, well, are we going to call them intelligent? All these people who probably have a lot of business degrees are not able to look at the bigger picture. I mean, come on, Starbucks. You pay us a living wage, and we have more money. Everybody has more money. They're going to buy more Starbucks. Come on,
Exactly.
man.
I just see the Starbucks has a huge opportunity
I think
to
you're right.
help stimulate the economy,
Right.
to help raise a standard of living, so prevent the homeless problem. Homelessness, that's the fruits of the billionaire class, and soon to be
Absolutely. That's, I
you
think,
talked
the
about
biggest-
trillionaire class.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think
That's
that's
insane.
the biggest. I lost my train of thought. You said something really, really good about
Stimulating the economy.
stimulating the economy. Dang it.
I think that's a good
Oh.
way to phrase it.
It is. They
yeah.
would stimulate the economy.
Yeah, because
Right.
they
Home-
employ almost 500,000
Right.
workers.
Well, okay. How about this? The best irony is that I can't afford to go to Starbucks.
Oh, shit. Damn.
I literally am like, $7 for a drink. If you have the disposable income, great. That's what
Yeah.
keeps me employed.
That's-
Sure, more power to you. But
And where
that's
does
kind
that
of
money-
a weird thing, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of a weird thing. Yeah. Where does it go? What do you really need 20 houses? I don't get it. Yeah. I mean, the fact that I think that's what I was going to say is that, growing up, you didn't see that many homeless people.
No.
You just didn't. And now it's,
Even in the
endemic.
90s, I grew up in the 90s,
Yeah.
and I don't remember this at all.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I
like,
mean, and we've all become inured to it. I mean, like literally walking around people, and it's
Yeah.
just it's super sad. So
and San Diego is one of the worst cities, but have you
Yeah.
gone to LA? Like,
I used to
it's
live in LA.
another
yeah.
level.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
drugs and
Yeah.
and I'm not saying that all homeless people or drug addicts, not even like that. What I'm saying is we need to take care of our people. Like we need to
Well,
provide
as you say,
healthcare.
2 paychecks away from being
Yeah,
homeless.
all of
so,
us are closer to becoming homeless than we are closer to becoming a millionaire.
I think that's what I always say too, because I'm bipolar and I'm very well medicated, very regulated. But there was a time when I could not work at all, like 2 years. I mean, it was just really bad. And I luckily have parents who supported me, and they were middle class, and so I lived with them. A lot of people don't have that, so I know there, but for the grace of God, go I. But other people don't see that, and that's the saddest part.
And and thank you for being so open. My members also, I've battled alcoholism, depression, anxiety. I gave my life to the Lord. I haven't had a drink going on 15 years. It's been
Awesome.
15
That's
years.
fantastic.
So this is important conversation that people have, mental health, and the fact that the company isn't giving you enough to be even subsistent.
Well, an interesting thing now that you mentioned that, they tout mental health a lot. However, I don't call out. I mean, rarely. I've been a little bit more lately because I'm like, well, shoot, I'm not going to drag my. I went to work when I had appendicitis and didn't realize it because I was just like, I don't want to miss
Oh,
work. Yeah, and
could've
that day
died.
it
Right?
ruptured.
ruptured,
At any
yeah.
rate, yeah. So, but we are not allowed to use our sick time for a mental health day. We have to be scheduled to work to use our sick time. So, okay, I want to call out and make my coworkers have to work that much harder so I can use my sick time, which is really weird to me. I don't understand. I mean, like, you can accrue a lot, but there's a lot of ins and outs, let alone you need to get somebody in here just to talk about the healthcare at Starbucks alone. I mean, all of those. I can only speak to my experience, which is rather large. But I mean, yeah, it's just
And you've been around Starbucks, you said 20 years, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
you've seen the company from the beginning and so do they change their policies all the time, or how does that
That's
work?
another interesting thing. Yet again, I'm not sure if I want to say this, but they changed their handbook recently, and they do that every once in a while, and it's literally 100 pages at least.
Damn.
What?
They don't give us time to read it. They're just like, okay, can you check off on this? And, so it's the new policies and procedures. And Sykes and I, who is our store organizer, I was like, I'm not signing that. I'm not going to sign that because there could be something, they could want me to give my firstborn child away, which isn't going to happen.
Right.
It's not, but at the same time, so that's just really shady, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, because they could put a lot of clauses in there that we don't know about, but they're not giving us the opportunity. We haven't gotten in trouble yet, but we are a union store. So I don't know if other stores, they would get in trouble for that,
Right.
So yeah, no, they change the policies all the time. They're becoming more and more draconian. That's the problem. Is it used to be like, I can see that's a reasonable policy, certain things. Yeah, if you come in wearing, bright red shoes that are, one girl at my first store, she was wearing like high heel boots. I didn't send her home. I probably should have. But probably should have. That was probably a
Looking
lawsuit
back at
waiting to happen.
That's
She looked
awesome.
good though. She looked good. But at the same time, yeah, now it's just like they've said like that the key holders are supposed to like inspect everybody for their uniform, and if you're not in uniform, you get sent home. And we're still not quite clear on if you get sent home, are you coming back or not for that shift? And then is that called a no show? But I mean, like literally, I had to tell one partner, she's like, "Are these going to be okay?" And I was like, I would wear them, and if they say they're not okay, then have another pair of shoes in your car, things like that. But yet again, it's climate of fear, and the climate of fear is what creates everything.
Yeah.
All of us. Everybody is afraid of making a union. Everybody's afraid of getting trouble. Everything. I think people also don't understand that the retaliation aspect is pretty much taken off the table. Although I feel like there's been some that we have experienced, but I think people are afraid that if I do this, then maybe I will lose my job or whatever. It's like the whole point is you're not going to lose your job.
Yeah,
You're going to be okay.
protected.
You're going to be okay.
Definitely. Well, hey, Sarah, we're over the 1 hour mark. We usually keep these around an hour to respect everybody's time.
I know.
And, but
I have a lot to say.
But is there any like last words you want to say out here? That something that we missed, something that we didn't ask?
Well, I mean, I
or-
have this sheet. I don't know if you guys are going to do any sort of prelude or if it just jumps directly to what we're doing. I mean, like, because there's too many things for me to remotely cover
Okay.
at one point. No, I mean, as you said, I think that we don't want to emphasize. Right now, we are stuck on. It's a symbolic of the fact that we're stuck on them last 10% agreeing to certain wage things. But that's symbolic of everything. That's symbolic of, okay, we just don't want you to have the power. So I think that is more power to the people. Let's get the solidarity going and just start at Starbucks and move forward, because that's the only thing that's going to change what's going on.
Definitely.
That's all I got.
Well, thank you, Sarah, for joining us.
Yes, you're
Thank you
welcome.
for everything.
Thank you
We'll
guys. I'm
definitely
excited.
be
Like I said, I would
boycotting.
have probably worn not workout clothes if I knew I was going to be
Yeah.
on camera.
Cool.
Thanks a lot, Veronica.
All right, everybody. That's another episode of Union or Bust. Again, respect the picket line with at Starbucks. Do not cross the picket line. Shop locally. Go somewhere else and get your coffee.
Absolutely.
And when the union strike is over, come on back.
There you go.
And then I just want to say one more thing to all the people who are on strike right now at Starbucks Workers United. I'm a metaphor guy, but I always tell my new union members the same story. When I was a young dad, I think I was like 28 years old, I took my daughters to the zoo, and we went to go see the cheetah cage. It was a big cage. They have trees and everything, but I'll never forget, for the rest of my life, there was a dog, a golden retriever, inside that cage with the cheetah. And it was barking at that cheetah, going, "Rah!" And the cheetah was all scared, and I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking to myself, holy cow, that cheetah could rip that dog's face off. So I talked to the zoo guy, I go, what's going on over here? And he told me that the cheetah thinks the dog is dominant because the cheetah was born in captivity. So I always tell my new union members, remember who you are. You're part of the union. You're part of the labor movement. We don't cut side deals. We work together to get the best contracts possible. And on behalf of the UnionorBust podcast, I wish you a very, very good strike. That's it.
Well, thank you.
Do you want to do the Patreon real quick? Continue recording. We're still recording. Okay. Hey everybody, Organizing Monster here with Chris Lopez.
How's everyone doing? Chris Lopez, your union brother on TikTok, Instagram, all the platforms.
And we want you to sign on to our Patreon, patreon.com/UnionnorBust. Sign on for $5 a month since you're already boycotting or not shopping at Starbucks. There you go. That's your cup of coffee right there. Just give it to us.
And
we need all the support we can take.
Have a cup of coffee.
Half a cup.
And our podcast is dedicated to kitchen table economics. We always say the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. And we keep a spotlight on, people have a right to pay their rent, pay their bills, have housing. And that's what the Union or Bust podcast is dedicated to. It's dedicated to the workers. It's dedicated to the working class. So support independent media because, I don't have to tell you where legacy media is. So thank you for your support.
Thank you.